Hey, so today I want to talk about this concept of an I society. And what I mean by that is we have adapted this mentality where it's my world and everyone else is living in it, right? It's my needs, my wants, my desires, and everyone else comes next. You know, we're kind of selfish in our thinking where even our problems, we think, you know, this only happens to me. These are my problems. No one else has to go through. Everyone else gets these days where just nothing phases them, and I have all these problems happening to me. But you are not, by far, you are not the only one having problems. You know, I mean, for example, like think about when you were in traffic last time. I know everyone's gone through this, where it's rush hour, right? And you're driving along and someone just cuts right in front of you. And what's your reaction? Oh, I can't believe that. It's always me. There's all these cars, all this traffic, and this person chooses to single me out and cut me off. Why does this always happen to me? No one else, it's always me, right? Another example is when you go shopping at your favorite store. You know, you're going through the racks, you find a shirt you really want. So you go through the rack and you're looking for your size, right? And they have every single size except yours. And your reaction, oh, of course, they never have my size. It's always me. The manager must have saw me coming in and said, oh, pull that off the rack. That person's coming in. Let's make their life miserable. Right? Everyone's thought of it this way before. But your problems are just like anyone else's. So I believe we need to get back to remembering, you know, it's not just me. I'm not the king or queen of the universe. You have to remember everyone's going through their own things. Remembering other people's points of view. That is a big factor that if we focused on that, we'd be so much better off. We'd be friendlier, nicer, things would be moving a lot more smoothly than, you know, you have this tunnel vision where all you're thinking about is yourself, what you need to do. If you just thought about the other people, you know, I think it was back in the Vietnam era, it was actually frowned upon to talk about yourself, to say the word I even. Um, I heard these stories about different people that around that time period, they'd give a speech, right? And at the end of it, or a talk or whatever, and at the end of it, their girlfriend or wife or whoever would pull them aside and say, "Hey, you said I this many times," and the person would be embarrassed by it. Oh, I can't believe I would talk about myself. That's so embarrassing, you know. And it's not like that way anymore. All we do is talk about ourselves. So we just need to get back to, you know, thinking about what other people are going through. Their mindset. I wonder what they're thinking. I wonder what they're going through. You know? People ultimately want to feel important. If you want some advice on conversations, that's all you got to think about when you address anyone. People want to feel important. And no one really wants to hear you talk about yourself. They act like they do. They're friendly, like, uh-huh, oh yeah, that's great. That's amazing. You're so great. But they don't care. They honestly do not care. If you just go up and you just start rambling off about yourself, you know, people are just going to think you're arrogant and, you know, all you do is think about yourself. People do not want to hear you talk about themselves. And if you remember, next time you're in a conversation, remember that, and remember, people want to feel important. You know, the most popular and the most social people ask questions. That's the key to it. They just ask questions. It makes people feel important when you ask them questions. You know, how are you doing? How is your day? Oh, tell me about that. Tell me what's going on with that, you know, anything. I promise you, the most social and the most popular people in this world, all they do is ask questions. They're genuinely interested in what's going on in your life. And that's why people like them. They listen to what the person is saying instead of thinking about their next response. You know, how many people have, you know, been in a conversation and they're just sitting there like they're not even listening. They're just, oh, I got this response in my head, and they're just waiting for them to shut up so they can say what they want to say, right? If you just actually focus, just only focus on the conversation you're having, and all you're doing is listening to the person, actually listen to what they're saying, your conversation will go so much smoother. And I believe that's why so many people get in awkward situations, because they're planning in their head what they're going to say next. And they're not even listening to the conversation. They're just thinking. All they're doing is thinking about what they're going to say next. And then they tense up and, oh no, I don't have any response, so it's going to get awkward. A genuine conversation, all you have to do is ask the other person questions and just respond to them. That's it. So make people feel important. No one wants to hear what you have to say. Ask questions. And I feel like we will be so much better off as a society if we focus on those key, you know, little things. It'll be so much better. Thanks for watching.